Hello, everyone. This is Ronnie. I'm going to be talking about a subject about Heckler and Koch and the recent import ban they have done recently, well, pretty much last week. Um, and I want to talk about the aftermath. Does it really matter? Well, actually, I'm going to talk about does it really matter the aftermath and also what about the civilian market. So I'll talk about those right now. Starting with the mean if it's gonna mean anything. Well, let's talk about the little history about this ban real quick. If anybody hasn't been following this topic for probably since a week ago, mostly the firearms blog has posted about it, and it talks about that H&K will only do they will only sell firearms to only United States and well trusted NATO nations. There's certain NATO nations like Turkey, for example, that's going to be banned from buying H&K products. But it's just not only Turkey that's only banned, but countries like Mexico is being banned from it. Saudi Arabia is being banned from owning H&K products. India, um, and I and a few other countries can't really think of right off the bat. But it's just not only those countries I just named. Pretty much all South America, Central America is pretty much going to be banned from owning H&K rifles. All Africa is going to be banned from owning H&K rifles or pistols. Same with pistols for South America and Central America too. Asia is also going to be banned from owning H&K products. I don't think Australia and New Zealand will be buying H&K products because really they're pretty much like a de facto NATO nations anyway. Well, not really part of NATO, but they work with a lot of NATO nations and they're pretty clean uh, with their human rights record and stuff like that. But pretty much Asia, um, Africa, Central and South America um, are pretty much going to be banned from owning H&K products for the militaries and police forces and probably civilian uses too. Like Europe, that's they're probably gonna be. I know Turkey's one of them, but now moving on to the subject, does it really mean anything to these countries? Um, well, to a lot of these countries that are got the ban on H and K, the countries that the H and K H K banned their products in those countries like Mexico, Turkey, um, India, and Saudi Arabia and a few other countries. I'll talk about that in a second. Sorry, I had to hold back a cough. I still got this stupid cough. I don't know why. Take a breath. Sorry. Okay. Does this ban mean anything to any of these countries? Um, Mostly no, and I'll go to that reason why. For example, Turkey, Mexico, Saudi Arabia, and a few other nations, India, for example, Pakistan. They were big. They are and were big H&K buyers. They bought a lot of G3 rifles, MP5s, HK33s, HK21s, HK, the whole HK in the G36. Some got their hands on the HK416s, HK417s, some of those newer type rifles that are out. Pistols like the USP, HK45s, HK30s. I mean the P30s. Mark 23s. Those have been offered and been sold to a number of nations. For example, Mexico and Turkey. Well, we'll start with Mexico. For example, they did make the G3 under license with help from Sedena. But however, the G3 is being phased out from service level by as years goes by the FX05 Zero Coat rifle. Which a lot of people, well, it looks like a G36, looks like a clone version of the G36. There's a lot of controversy that it is a copy of it. While it looks externally like a G36, the insides of it's pretty much vastly different. Back during the early days of the FX05, it was mostly made under, I mean, F and FNN made improvements to that rifle, and pretty much fix all the some of the issues that they were having problems with the rifle in the first place. So pretty much the rifle is vastly different than the G36 G36 rifle that H&K is making. Originally, Mexico was supposed to make the G36 rifle. If you and there were a lot of nations were kind of like some people in the media was so confident that Mexico was going to buy the G36 and introduce it into the. If you guys haven't played Ghost Recon Advanced Warfighter, the first one that came out back in 2006, was it 2006 or 2007? Well, it came out in 2006, 2007. Um, they shown Mexican soldiers armed with G36. But when a few months after that game came out, a picture rose of the new FX05 uh, prototypes being shown on the public. To a lot of people, they thought they were just regular G36, but they weren't. But the thing is about in the Mexican military, well, mostly the Mexican army, is buying FX05s, over 100,000 of them in different types of variants, ranging from basic battle rifle configuration up to machine guns, sniper, designated marksman's rifle. Recently revealed a close quarter submachine gun variant of it, um, stuff like that. But there's also a 7x62 variant that's also under development called the FX07, which is yeah, pretty much like well, it's a 7x62 version. Something which a G36 has yet to come out. Well, something that the H&K hasn't yet to come out for their G36 is the 7x62 version, which is surprising they haven't because the 7x62 version round is coming back into fashion again. So, but there's also other types of rounds that are coming out for the FX05 ones. Probably one's the 6.8 that's been talked about. I don't know if they'll go for it, but I have a feeling a 300 blackout version might be in development too, since that's becoming a really popular round with military forces. Netherlands, for example, recently bought some 300 blackout rifles, so that's going to be that'll be coming in service with some nations in the near future. But in the Mexican Navy, they went with SIG 516s and Colt brand rifles a little bit. So they got some FX05s. I know they played around with some HK33s and G3s, but that's not their main rifles of the Mexican Navy. Mexican Navy mostly are mostly based off U.S. Navy and United States Marine Corps weapons. That's why they were using Colt M1682s and some A4 variants. So they're mostly. I see some of them do have FX05s, but most of them are evaluations or special forces units that got them. Federal police, they got some G3 rifles. Mostly those are former Mexican Army ones that were passed down or given to the Mexican Federal Police or Mexican police departments. The reason, but before that, Mexico and Germany had a really great relationships buying military hardware, ranging from APCs in the past, and rifles, and let's see, armored vehicles. I think they bought some. I'm just thinking right off the bat, but most of the Mexican Federal Police they were using they were buying some like HEK USP pistols, MP5s, mostly because the MP5s are also made under license in Mexico too. And but however, in 2009, I believe, or 2008 and 2009, some G36 rifles end up in some of the police department's hands, which were already blacklisted from H&K, and after H&K found out about it and stuff like that, they pretty much put in a small embargo on shipping G36 or any other future HK products and that were given to them. So Mexican Federal Police and Mexican military Mexican Army just decided to ramp up their FX05s. Mexican Federal Police just went ahead and went to check CZ Beretta, IWI, um, Colt, whole bunch of fire FN. So pretty much they've kind of fixed that the rifle and pistol gap, and even machine gun gap from H&K. So in meantime, and now that H&K put an embargo on them now again, does it really matter? No. Mexico don't care about it anymore. Mexico only so far has just been buying the Mercedes Benz trucks and like the Umi Mogs. I can't pronounce that name. And some man trucks, mostly just uh, transport miscellaneous trucks. Most of the military hardware they're buying nowadays is just going to either towards from Israel, from the United States, or indigenous made, or France. So they pretty much just moving from moving away from Germany little by little on military hardware. Same with Turkey. Turkey was also is also a big H&K manufacturer back in the day. They made G3s, HK33s, MP5s, and MG3s. Even though MG3s are not HK products, but they made those. They made HK21s and stuff like that under license. And a few years ago, before they renounced the MPT 76 rifle, that they were going to make the HK 416 under license. I forgot what the name is. It starts with an M. I think it's called the Mijeka or something. I can't pronounce Turkish. I think it was called the Mijeka or something. Mijeka. I can't pronounce it. Um, but they canceled that and went with the MPT 76 rifle, which is a 7.62. Because they prefer that round over the 5.56. The 5.56 they prefer mostly with special forces and close quarter combat, so they're not really focused on 5.56 right now. But lately Turkey just kind of been moving away, even though Turkey still relies on Germany on some parts and military hardware exports. I mean imports. They slowly kind of been moving away. They're slowly moving away from Germany um, on those type of issues and stuff to avoid certain issues like embargoes and stuff like that. So, in the last few years, they have been improving and building up their domestic market big time. But Turkey, ironically, if people don't know, Xena, for example, the ones that have been exporting their G3 rifles and HK33s and MP5s have been, hold on, air in my mouth, have been exporting MP5s, HK33s, and G3 rifles to the United States, which have been successfully been, which has been a successfully since a lot of Americans love the MP5s and stuff because most MP5s nowadays are very expensive. Most are already machine guns conversions and stuff like that, converted to full automatic submachine guns, and those cost around like up to about thirty to $40,000. So it's really pricey for getting the MP5 back in the day. And that the semi-auto MP5s, I mean the pre-ban ones before 1989 are hard to get and are expensive. However, now that Zenith released their own, now that Zenith is selling their MP5s, HK33s, and G3s, even though there's a couple other set me's and they're not really German made weapons, they're mostly Spanish made rifles. But I know PTR, for example, is kind of got that set me, but they also got that the HK93 rifles, which were sold in the pre-ban days. I actually am planning to get a PTR pretty soon. Well, next month. Well, this month I'm getting a PTR. I got it on layaway right now. But um, PTR 91. I was about to say. Sorry about that. But Zenith has been making a killing off those markets, so it's not gonna phase H and K. I mean, it's not gonna HK's not gonna phase them because they still make those rifles under license. And even though if they cancel out that license, they'll make them they'll make unofficial ones, like a lot of these nations do anyway in the first place. Even if they cancel out the license and stuff like that, they could just make unofficial and unofficial copies and stuff like that. They already got the machines to do it anyway. However, like I said, the the HK 33s and the G3 rifles are being superseded by the MP 76 rifles. They're coming in service with the Turkish army, so it wouldn't really matter to them. Same with Pakistan. Pakistan's got a big G3 MP5s. They also make the MG3, right? Like I said, the MG3 machine guns are not made by the HEK, but they still make them under license. They're vastly popular rifles. G3s are still vastly popular. Um, Along with the FAL or FAL, they're still vastly popular. Um, but will that phase Pakistan? No, because all they've been doing is been making their stuff. The, they make it under license, but they'll make it like with Turkish situation and stuff like that. They'll just keep making them and like uh, like unofficial copies and stuff. Because since the G3 rifles and the MP5s are not going to be going out of service anytime soon for a long while, even though Pakistan is looking to buy new battle rifles and stuff like that in a few years. But even though there's some reports that Pakistan bought a million MP 76s, I don't know if that's true or not. But the G3s are not going to go anywhere in the Pakistani service anytime soon. Probably not for decades. Same with MP5s. Um, but the thing is, they also sell. I didn't know this until a few months ago when I was watching a YouTube video of someone else talking about their gun collection. Um, they also one of them had a Pakistani made MP5s. So I don't know who makes those. I don't know who brought them in the market over here, the Pakistani made MP5s, but they're sold over here in the United States. But other than that, I don't think it's gonna matter with Pakistan anyway. One more thing, I want to go back on Mexico though. On a G3 rifle, I want to say that Mexico stopped making a G3 rifle a few years ago. I think even like a couple years before the FX 05 was revealed. So they stopped making them probably back in early 2000s. So I don't see. So the G3 production is not going to matter anyway to Mexico. I know they still make MP5s down there, but like I was saying, the MP5s are being superseded by FNP 90s. I wouldn't be surprised and that the Mexican army, like I said about that little submachine rifle. I like to call that now a submachine carbine, whatever you call it, submachine guns. They like to call the PAX 100. Is a new close quarter rifle that fires 5x56 rounds, based off the FX05. So those will be coming up soon to replace those MP5s. Also, there's Saudi Arabia, for example, that's no big issue. Uh, they make G3 rifles too, but lately they've just been buying every freaking rifle in the world too for some reason. But I don't think it really matters. But with the reasons why H and K are doing this because they want to avoid this, and I'm going to talk about it now. In the rest of the world, there's countries that also make. Iran makes HKs. I mean the G3s and HK products under license. Greece also makes H&K G3 rifles under license. They also sold some back in the day to the United States called the SAR 3. If you watch Military Arms Channel, for example, Tim talks about it. He also owns a SAR 3 rifle, but they also sold G3 rifles back in the 80s before the import ban. There's a number of countries that used to make G3 rifles under license a lot of times. Don't get confused with SETMEs or the SETME Ls, SETME M type rifles too, because those are different. Well, they're the same, but they're kind of different. um, based off the G3 rifles, even though the SETMEs are before G3s, to let you know about that. But anyway, all to gather all the topic on that, the reason why HK is doing this because they want to lower the human rights issues. They don't because these countries are violating human rights issues. I don't know what we already know. Okay, we already know how Saudi Arabia is with human rights issues and Turkey and stuff like that, and some of these other countries. Mexico has some human rights issues due to this drug war going on, which is no big surprise. But the thing is, this move right here, what H&K is doing, is mostly it's mostly political, and I kind of do see it as a short term thing because like Angela Merkel right now, she's in a German defense lately in the last almost a decade right now has been kind of like anti uh, weapons, anti exporting weapons to any country in the world. That's why it's kind of pretty hard to get weapon systems from Germany a little bit compared to other countries in Europe like France or Belgium. Um, it's kind of Germany's kind of becoming like the Switzerland now. If people don't remember back in the 1990s and stuff like that, it was pretty hard for companies like SIG and Pilatus. Pilatus. If people don't know what Pilatus is, they make trainers like PC-7s, PC-9s. You know the T-6 aircraft that the U.S. Air Force, U.S. Navy flies. That's based off the PC-9M, the Pilatus PC-9M. Um, and a lot of things it was a pain in the ass for companies in Switzerland like SIG and Pilatus to make deals outside because the Swiss government did not believe in exporting arms to other countries, especially countries that are in war or have human rights issues. Back in the 1990s, this was a hard lesson for some of these countries like Pilatus because they lost a piece. They had to cancel the 48 PC-9M trainer aircraft for the Mexican Air Force because during 1994, early part of 1994, the Mexican government unleashed a um, war against the EZLN rebel groups in Chiapas, and in which PC-7 aircraft were used to bombard and do rocket attacks against the EZLN rebels and stuff like that. And so the Swiss government put an embargo on the Mexican military. I mean, the Mexico for that. They also along that same year that was happening, South Korea was going to buy the PC-9M, which they did. They selected over the KT-1 aircraft, which they were making in South Korea, which was their indigenous aircraft. They chose the PC-9M over that KT-1. However, once the South Koreans told the pilots they want the aircraft to have weapons enabled on their aircraft, the Swiss government said no. So the South Korea just gave them the big middle finger, and they canceled the PC-9M and just went with the KT-1. And so after seeing that, SIG kind of tag team. Like SIG, for example, went to Germany and kind of like that's why you got 6 Hour was one of the reasons why they exist because they went to Germany, and Pilatus kind of went tag team with other companies, defense companies like British Aerospace, for example, and they kind of went like aftermarket. I mean, like had the middleman, so they could avoid um, the embargoes and all that political stuff that's going on with Switzerland. Same with Sweden. That's why Saab went to British Aerospace, which ironically, the Gripen, for example, is a British Aerospace design. Go read about that, and uh, if you have British Secret Projects, you could go read about that. The fighters one, the British Secret Project Fighters Volume One, but Saab took the Gripen to British Aerospace to have it exported because the Swedish government did not believe in exporting arms to other countries too. So that's one of the reasons why That's why some nations decided to go um, and do their own work. I mean, that's why some of these companies went to other nations um, to sell their products, to help them sell their products, so they could avoid that framework. And actually, at the time, that a lot of people don't know that H&K for back in the late '90s and early 2000s, they were owned by the British companies. They were owned by the British, even though the H&K name was still there. It was still owned by the British for a short time, and they were doing a lot of great sales too to a lot of countries under that British, because the British at the time, British don't care. Unlike when they sell weapons, they don't care who they sell it to unless they're an enemy of the British. Like for example, Argentina and North Korea and other countries and stuff like that. But in the meantime, they could sell to most countries. They could care less about human rights issues. Same with France. They don't care about human rights issues. They'll sell anything. They'll sell if they want it. If there was no law about selling nuclear weapons, they would sell nuclear weapons to other countries. Trust me, that's how the French will work. Um, but to get off the top, but now on the topic about HK, um, will this hurt HK in the long run? Yes. Even if the embargo is a short-term measure, it's going to hurt HK worse, because the reason why other countries see this, and after seeing that embargo, it's going to also hurt the German companies at worse too, because other countries will see, well, like, you know what, I'm really interested in your Leopard tanks. I was interested in your H&K rifles. I'm interested in your warships. I'm interested in some of your aircraft. But after I see this, I don't want nothing to do with your products. I don't want nothing to do with your things. So um, it's pretty much uh, any country sees H&K, and a lot of people, um, and I'll talk about that in a second. I'm gonna stay with this. Um, a lot of people is gonna see Germany as a uh, unreliable customer. I mean, an unreliable importer, because they could be selling weapons to you today, and tomorrow they could just turn your source off real fast. They could just like stop you. Not stop you, but they'll stop that weapon shipment to you. They'll stop anything and parts and stuff. So in the meantime, it's gonna pretty much gonna screw over H&K. It's gonna screw over um, all the shipping. I can't Baflin, Valm. I can't think of the shipping. Only thing that's keeping them alive is the German Navy's buying some of their ships, and the Israeli Navy is buying warships and submarines, and some other nations. Most nations are just doing TLT transfers, and they just build one sub, and other stuff is just going to other countries. But when countries see these type of bans and H&K, then it's going to pretty much going to turn everyone else off. And the biggest winners of this whole thing about this embargo, and H&K is doing, even though they're making a killing with NATO markets, with France being the latest one, is that in other countries like Beretta, CZ, uh, Glock, um, well, Intertech is a Croatian company that sells the HS 2000. If people don't know what the HS 2000 is, it's the Springfield XD, but they sell those pistols in military too. They're also going to be selling the VHS rifles. There's a lot of countries that will take up the slack. FN, Fabrique Nationale, will take over that market. There's a lot of these gun companies around in Europe that's going to take over that slack, and like Steyr and stuff like that. So even though Austria has also put an embargo on selling weapons to Turkey now, but the thing is, um, a lot of these countries that will look at these defense companies and these nations, and they'll just blacklist them. They'll just go off and get someone else that's not into this internal politics or human rights issues and all this other stuff. So that's how I'm going to see it. That's how I see it with H&K. It's going to hurt them in the long run. It's going to hurt the German companies in the long run because when people start doing this stuff, it's going to hurt them. Do I see this as a good idea on these import bans on HK? Um, I would say yes and well, I'll say no and yes. Well, let me reverse that. Yes and no. Yes, with some of these countries like Saudi Arabia and Qatar and stuff like that, and Turkey right now is being because of all the crap that's going on and their human rights issues going. So I wouldn't sell them a freaking hot air balloon, let alone rifles and stuff like that. But the thing is, um, blacklisting every nation out there around the world that not all these nations have internal problems or human rights issues and stuff. I'm talking about Central America's. Well, Central America's got a lot of freaking problems, but there's certain countries in South America that are just pretty much calm, laid back. There's certain countries in Asia that are calm and laid back. There's certain countries in Africa that are calm and laid back. They don't have all these problems. They're just like making money, doing pretty well in their own lives, and so it's gonna hurt. It's gonna hurt everybody that's looking to get into looking to Germany on certain projects, especially their submarines, because right now the submarines are very popular out there, along with Russian kilos and and their other new sub I can't think of it right off the bat, starts with an A. Oh yeah, they're Mer class. Even though I haven't really heard anybody buying those yet. I know there's a lot of interest from them, but anyway, getting to the point though, um, there's a lot of it's gonna hurt Germany in the long run because of this embargo. And I'm not talking about GK. It's gonna hurt HK a lot worse because they just cut off about 90% of their market force right there. Well, I'll say 75 because the 25% of the market force is mostly with Europe and stuff like that with NATO nations. Even though they're going to be making a big purchase with rifles with HK 416s with France, but most of those rifles are probably going to be made under license in France, and still it's not going to make a lot of money for. Well, it's going to make money for them in with the license and stuff to them, but it's still not going to help the person that's on the production line at H&K because H&K pretty much cut out that guy and haven't sent the license over to France, and the people that's making the rifles in France, even though they're going to pay H&K this certain percentage, they're still going to be paying the French employees that are working at that factory. So it's going to hurt them a lot worse in the long run. Like I was saying, a lot of these countries are doing TOT transfers now. I mean, technology of transfers, if people don't know what TOT means. So it really depends. Um, but the thing is, that's the aftermath of it. But now I'm going to talk about a hypothetical. Well, this is my opinion, and hypothetical and stuff like this is concerning for H and K people. I mean, for civilians, gun owners like me, for example. I don't have an H and K product. Like I said, the closest H and K product I will have is a PTR 91. But but that's American made surplus rifle, much more better than Century Arms 70s. um, but the thing is, um, the civilians. If HK is doing this, I'm gonna give it. I'll give it time before HK because what a lot of people don't know, a lot of gun owners don't know in the United States is that right now there's a big massive proposal to ban firearms for civilians over there in Europe, or restrict them heavily on certain calibers and I mean different calibers and which stuff like that. So this will probably give H&K another a new thing that they'll probably stop selling H&K products to civilians. And why the reason why why people probably worried about that a little bit? Well, the thing is, H&K products are very popular in civilians markets. Like for example, the VP9 is being bought in droves. The droves, I mean. I actually like the VP9, even though I would not. take it and use it for outside weather and stuff like that because I figured how that damn thing was running. But I kind of have to digress about that because it really depends on because that simple test what Tim did on Military Arms Channel they can mean any damn thing. But still, but back on topic though, um, a lot of their products, HEK products, are very popular with civilians. They're a very big name, along with Colt and Fabrique Nationale, FN. I mean, SIGs and Glocks, and but the thing is about HEK, they're really well known, mostly well known, extremely well known back in the '80s and '90s films, still up to this day. Um, and they're like a brand name in the gun industry in the United States. Like I said, along with Colt, Smith and Wesson, and stuff like that. The thing is, um, I'm sorry if I'm dragging this stuff on. I'm just trying to give you guys, if people who don't know this stuff, I mean, first time gun owners and stuff like that. But the thing is, what I'm saying um, is that if HK is blocking these military deals, and there's this gun ban that's going on with EU and stuff or restrictions, don't be surprised that HEK might just say, you know what, we'll just pull from the civilian market altogether. Because right now, Germany, if you guys didn't know, Germany was also pushing hard on gun control. I mean, gun bans over there ever since that shooting incident with the Iranian uh, teenager that went shot and killed some people in what was it, somewhere in Germany. I can't remember, over some personal vendetta or something like that. But after that, the German government was kind of looking at banning firearms, looking at banning pistols and rifles and stuff like that. Even though no rifle was used, it was a pistol, uh, illegally acquired. But still, it gives them more ammo that they will ban them and stuff like that, or restrict them, heavily restrict them. But the thing um, is that, like I was saying, H&K might withdraw from the civilian market altogether. And what that means, um, that they could probably will withdraw. Like, well, if they're withdrawing from all civilian market, they will withdraw from here too. And so, if I don't want to put a gun scare or gun ban or anything on that on HK products. I don't want to do that. But if I were you guys right now, I would recommend just getting your H&K products right away. And I mean MP5s, VP9s, USPs, HK416s, HK417s. I know they're under different names with them, the civilian names, but I would recommend getting them. Or I would also buy the parts for them. Mark 23s, I would get them because you just don't know when H&K might just go off and you know what they'll say. Also get that MP5. They took about 300 years to get over here too. Buy that right away. And if they do that, I'm like I said, because we never know what H&K will do, and they might just, you know what, cut the civilian market altogether, just focus on military supplies. Even though H&K makes a lot of money in civilian markets, so but with this political interference, they will cut it. They don't care. They want to keep the politicians happy. So that's probably one of the reasons why um, I would keep an eye on that. I don't want, like I said, I don't want to throw gun fears out there, but I would recommend probably buying as many H&K products or H&K products you don't own. I am looking to get a USP one these days. I was looking to get a VP9. I'll probably get one eventually, but I'll probably get a USP before I get VP9. But like I was saying, get your H&K products before something like this happens too in the civilian market, because H&K, um, especially in the United States, were very very reluctant to sell their rifles, um, and even MP5s after the '89 ban and the 1994 ban. They that's why you come with a half-ass G36, the SL8, the half-ass HK. The UMP, the UMP. I call it UMP. Um, That's why it took them like 20 years, 20, 30 years, well, like almost like 15 years. Well, no, not 15. A few, gosh damn, 10 years to bring the MP5 back into the U.S. market. Even though the Turkish and Pakistanis, I don't know which brand who sells Pakistanis, who imports their MP5s over here, but been here a little bit longer. That's why you got PTR and Century Arms, and there's another half a guy who just watched Tim's channel about that rifle. Well, but that's not an HK product; it's a Set Me. Um, that's why you got companies that are bringing over, um, and making G3s and stuff like that over here, just like making AK-47s and stuff. Because there's also arms ban on AK-47s right now due to the sanctions with Russia. But like I was saying, I would just recommend getting the HK products, get the HK parts, get this and get that with HK because you just don't know. I would even go out even further, which I don't think that's going to happen with Wolfer or any other German companies that sell weapons here. But H&K will because they're kind of like half-assed with civilians. They just kind of just treat them like, they're like this little market here and there. They don't care. So if they do cancel that out, it's not going to hurt them that much anyway. Even though they're popular in Europe and stuff like that, but they will do it. They just don't really care too much about the civilian market, especially over here in the United States. They care, but they don't care. It's like a 50-50. It's a strange bedfellows thing. It's kind of weird, uh, but like I said, I would just in case get an HK product right away, just due to this ban that H&K did. Um, I just hope this is just a short term thing. I just think the banning everyone else in the world is too radical because not everybody is you got human rights issues and stuff like that. And anyway, the German government is going to be changing government soon because Merkel is not very popular in Germany right now. She's trying to reverse some of the effects of the refugee crisis and other things going on over there, but I think it's too damn little, too damn late, to be honest, with her to save her ass in the election. So I think what's going to go on is going to be another German government coming in. But at the same time, you can't really rely on that new German government too because they could keep in place that embargo. So we don't know if this is going to be a short-term embargo or if this is going to be a long-term embargo. So by HEK, and we just don't know. So that's my take about H&K. I think the best idea for civilians is just either guys could wait it out, but if it was me, I would probably save up and get as many H&K products as you can. Uh, Stuff like that. 'Cause you just don't know what H&K will do next. They're like I said, they're not, especially in the United States. They could pull right out of the United States right away, even though they're very popular here with their pistols and rifles. But still, they're quite expensive, but still, um, but I don't know. But like I was saying, I would recommend getting HK products right away, just in case something like that happens. Because, like I said, we just don't know what will happen next with HK. You just don't even know that other German gun manufacturers might follow suit, which I doubt, but you just don't know. But anyway, I'll let you guys go, and I hope you guys enjoy this video. I'll be coming out with some military news channels about that. I might talk about this further, probably just a little bit about it in my military news thing. But my military news videos in the future. But I'll let you guys go. Hope you guys understand. I just been busy a lot and stuff like that. So I'll talk to you guys later. See ya.